come up, and I can answer them one at a time. So with that, Greg, do you want to have us get started?
Sure thing, Tracy, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to walk you through our ongoing tracking of a pretty significant potential weather event that will occur starting tonight through the weekend. Show you how we've been looking at worst case potential weather as well as our most likely case. And some of you are from outlets that may have your own meteorology staff. We have a company meteorologist, and we look at weather just a little bit differently. We're all about understanding the worst case and planning for the worst case, because that's how we set ourselves up to be great at restoring power and getting our customers lights on and communities functioning and schools open. Today, we'll walk through the potential weather that we're seeing. We'll talk about resources that we've secured and are moving into place, and how we're pre-staging to get ready for the potential of a large restoration event. We'll also talk a little bit about how customers can interact with our various different systems to understand when there's an outage, how long is it likely to take, and what's our status in progressing through restoration. In the next 3 days, we're going to see potentially 3 waves of weather. And as you'll see shortly, we're going to experience just about every weather pattern that you can have in Michigan over those 3 days. The first wave of this system, we're tracking significant freezing rain risk. So you can see here the worst case and the most likely case as this moves across the Upper Peninsula and into the northern lower. The darker worst case scenario areas, you can see ice up over an inch, nearly 1.5 inches. That would be pretty historic levels of icing. So what we know is that the atmospheric conditions will be present to make this a potential, but ice is really hard to predict, because just a few degrees difference of temperature can make a huge difference in the amount of risk. In the most likely case there, you'll see just a little bit wider area in the northern lower, and significantly less amounts of ice, up to nearly 1/4 inch. And it's at 1/4 inch that we start to anticipate outages from freezing rain. Now, the second wave becomes a little bit higher risk for us. And this is the wave that would occur Saturday afternoon through Saturday night. And you can see a much larger, darker zone with ice amounts reaching up over 1.5 inches across several counties. And in the most likely picture, you can see we still achieve nearly 1 inch of ice kind of around the coast at the tip of the mitt there. And we're preparing for the type of restoration efforts that are required when we have heavy ice that takes down trees and large tree limbs, conductors, and other components of the electric distribution grid. As we've been tracking this weather, we've seen in and outflow of potential sleet risk. As of this morning's update to the models, relatively limited risk of sleet, although some, and that doesn't have as much of an impact on the electric grid, but it impacts trees, and it surely impacts our ability to travel efficiently and safely around the territory. I promise you, we have the potential of seeing every type of weather. There's also some snow accumulation possible in the 3.5 to 4 inch range at the tip of the mitt in worst case, and then less than 1/2 inch in the most likely. Again, not a big additional risk to the grid, but it creates complexity in getting crews safely around to restoration sites. Finally, there's the possibility of significant rain, rounding out all the types of precipitation that we can possibly have. So you'll see here in the worst case, rain amounts up over 3 inches, and even in the most likely case, still rain over 2 inches, which at this time of year, when the ground is still frozen, can create pooling and localized wet areas that are very difficult for us to get equipment in and out of. So we're preparing for that as well as we think about what kinds of special equipment and plans we need to make. There is some wind risk associated with this event, although you'll see the higher wind risk in the yellow and orange color is primarily in the south part of the state. And then to round out the tour of all types of weather, Sunday night, we have a severe thunderstorm threat that has now moved into the models where we could potentially see some thunderstorm activity that's more in the lower 2/3 and less in the areas that are likely to be affected by ice. Now, all that's going to have an impact on our grid, and we've been thinking about it since Monday and gathering resources and preparing, and I'll turn it over to Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Greg, and good afternoon, everyone. So based off what you just saw from the weather reports, we have been preparing since Monday. We've secured 437 contractors from across Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, combined with 182 crews that we have on the system for a total of 619 crews. We're staging our contractors to come in. About a third will come in tonight by 2200, a third tomorrow by 0600, and then the remaining third by 1600 in the afternoon on Saturday. That's done intentionally to ensure that we have 24/7 coverage and so that we can adjust depending on where the harvested areas are. That being said, we're moving a lot of resources into the northern tip of Michigan right now to be prepared for that. In addition to the crewing resources, we have 82 electric service workers on the system to respond to police and fire wire downs and other hazards, 46 damage assessment teams to go out and evaluate the damage so that we can get materials and crews there quickly to make repairs. And those damage assessment teams will also use our drone teams and our helicopter to help us make those assessments. In addition, we have 300 forestry crews on the system that'll be active and engaged in our restoration efforts. We're also going to pre-stage 2 of our mobile command centers. One of those will be in the Cadillac area, one in the Houghton Lake area. They're there actually already right now. We'll move them around and adjust them based off the damage, but wanted to get them into northern Michigan right now to be prepared. And then we have 3 storm trailers as well with material, cross arms, conductor, other items that we'll use. We have those staged both at the mobile command centers as well in Cadillac, Houghton Lake, and put a third one up into the Gaylord area. We are moving heavy equipment that we have from both the electric and the gas side of our business up there to be able to move debris out of roads, move limbs out of the road, be able to get down roadways in order to restore customers, and then a partner with our supply chain, our vendors to deliver materials to us in the event that we need large quantities of materials up there. So think poles, wire, cross arms, transformers, those items will be delivered directly to the job sites. We've also looked at it from a fueling standpoint. We have contracted a couple of vendors to deliver tankers up and make sure that we can fuel our equipment on site, knowing that there may be some challenges, as well as look through a logistics standpoint, food. So how do we get our folks taken care of while they're up there? We've got a great partnership with Camp Grayling. We reached out to them. They've offered up an opportunity for us to use that as a site to have our contractors go and stay the night if need be and work through other logistics challenges. So grateful for that partnership that we've been able to work through. In addition to that, our emergency operations center manager, organization will be on the clock starting at 6 o'clock tonight. We will staff our center 24/7 as well as our 2 work management centers that dispatch and monitor our grid. So those will be staffed until every last customer is restored. We did have a call yesterday with all of our emergency managers across northern Michigan to talk about how we can communicate during this event and really have quick access to consumers' energy for any emergent issues that they have as we go forward. So a lot of prep work has gone into this. We're really prepared for this event. Again, we've staffed this for the worst case models that Greg talked about. We're prepared and able to respond. We're targeting all customers on within 48 hours from this event. I'll also talk about how we sequence our restoration. So we will start with hospitals, fire departments, police departments, water treatment plants, broadcast media such as TV, radio stations, so they can get out emergency communications. And then knowing this event will go into Monday, we'll do everything we can to have schools restored so that communities have places for their children to go back into the school. So we'll prioritize those as we go forward. Lastly, I'll just mention our outage map and our app are the 2 best ways to get information from us. On our outage map, as a reminder, when you see a colored area that has a green boundary on the outside, that means we have a crew that's assigned to it. They should be responding within hours to be able to get over, make the repairs, and get customers restored in that spot. It'll also give ETR updates on that, as well as you can log in your own account and you'll get the information directly with that. I'll hand it over to Greg to give you an update on our estimated times of restoration.
We know that having an accurate estimated time of restoration is really important to customers who are trying to manage their life during a power outage. We continually improve how we provide those and how we calculate them. And as we enter this event, we'll have our strongest ever system in place to be sure that everyone who has an outage has an estimated time of restoration. And we work very hard to hit that first estimated time of restoration. Sometimes a second time of restoration may be provided if we find that the damage on that system was more significant than we anticipated, or crews had trouble moving from place to place due to icy roads or other conditions that may make travel difficult. We know that that estimated time of restoration means a lot to everybody. In summary, we want to say we've been monitoring this risk. We've shared with you the range from what our meteorology team thinks could be the worst case to what all the weather models would suggest is the most likely case. We're ready, we're in position, and we're going to work around the clock to restore everybody who's out if this event transpires the way it looks like it might. We sure hope that the weather breaks better and it's warmer and we just have to deal with rain, but we're ready for the ice and snow, and we appreciate you all being with us here today and helping us get this message out. Tracy, back to you.
Thank you, Greg and Chris. Are there any questions? Excellent. I do want to clarify because the mic cut out a little bit when Chris was talking earlier about our goal for restoration. It was an ill-timed cutout that it sounded, at least on my end, like he said 8 hours, and what he had said was 48 hours. So that's going to be the goal. If there are any other follow-up questions from the media outlets that are present, feel free to reach out. We have been recording this, so we're going to make it available later. And we do intend to send a press release out shortly that will have a lot of this information in it. But if there are no final thoughts or concerns, then I will end this press conference. Thank you so much for attending.